We did Shemot chapter 22. We saw where the Creator was shaping the justice system and recommending, giving commandments for restitution and for people to care for the vulnerable. All right, I think this will continue in chapter 23 because it's the same voice speaking with thundering from Mount Sinai, and we're going to see mentions about the court and dealing with majorities and foreigners and poor, and just showing how we must ensure that we get rest and that the land should also get rest. I'm going to read Shemot chapter 23, 1 through to 3 first. And it says, "Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor be a witness in a strife so as to turn aside after many, to turn aside what is right. And do not pour a favor in his strife." Okay, so do not favor a poor man in his strife. So we're talking about more than one things there. False report, slander, and don't follow the crowd. Right? False report is quite easy to get those things in your ears. I mean, whether or not you're interested in that, there's a lot of fake news on media right now, and it's kind of a real challenge to ignore it, because even if you skip another 1 hour and you're scrolling again, it comes back at you. Now, how will we deal with all this false news that's coming, right? And it is actually telling us, do not bring a false report. In other words, you don't make things worse by taking that report, right? And to do wrong with it. So I was thinking first when I say false report, hearing it, but it's not really about that. It's actually about bringing false reports. So it's like slander. Don't join with people to slander, and don't commit yourself. Sometimes even if the crowd is going with it, it does not mean that it's right. Sometimes it's really mentioned to distort justice, right? And sometimes the poor people who are the victims or the defendants, do not get the benefit of what our action is, because our action is actually ill. So there's a song I used to listen to when I was young. I said, don't follow rumors, right? And especially when we don't have the evidence, because if there's no evidence, that is what rumors is. You're talking what you've been passed on to you without evidence, right? And that is a bad habit. Put your voice, and don't ever be associated with that. And it's really a warning for us, because the crowd pressure can be very, very strong. There's something that mentions about poor. Do not favor a poor man in his strife. I'm thinking that the poor person is part of the vulnerable group, and you'd always have a leaning. Well, I find myself have a leaning to people who are poor, or people who are helpless or fatherless. But it's saying that if this poor person is actually in his strife, I don't know what the other version is saying, but if he is in his strife, then you do not want to favor him. Let him know when wrong is wrong and when right is right. Because justice is about truth, It's not about rich class and poor class, which class we're a part of. They deserve compassion if they're poor, but the judge should be allowed to decide, and whatever situation they get themselves in, the same standard supposed to meet out to the rich, same to the poor, same to the black, same to the white, same to the man, same to the woman, same to the boy, same to the girl, right? Whatever classes that established. All right, let's read verses 4 through to 9. If we do not have any additions to these first 3 verses. When you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help him. Do not turn aside the right ruling of your poor in his strife. Keep yourself far from a false matter, and do not kill the innocent and the righteous, for I do not declare the wrong right. And do not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the seeing one and twists the word of the righteous. And do not oppress a sojourner, as you yourselves know the heart of a sojourner, because you were sojourners in the land of Mishpatim. So we get additional caution, firstly about helping the enemy, and guarding justice. The donkey of him who hates you. So I just substitute and say dog. The dog of him who hates you, because dog is the name, brother. The dog's name is easy to call. Don't leave it in a vulnerable position. Help the dog if the dog is in a situation, as long as the dog don't bite you. And of course, there must be conditions to that, right? It's also on top of that, because the natural thing is, if it's your enemy, you don't want to necessarily have any association with what your enemy's stuff is, because it's easy for them to blame you and say, "Oh, I didn't ask for your help." They might be very ungrateful in their reaction to your thoughtfulness and your support. But when you realize it's a genuine situation, and that's where the discernment comes in. If you see the neighbor's donkey going astray, you don't need to go have a series of prayer to say you need to catch that donkey and tie him and report it. You have a donkey. Donkey. It's not a hard thing to do. I hope we are all on the same page with that one. And number 6 talks about the poor again. So we read something about the poor earlier. Now we're saying, do not turn aside the right ruling of your poor in his strife. So we're told caution not to offer favoritism to the poor, but here we're also we're told to do not ignore the right ruling of the poor in his strife. Right? So it's very encouraging that we help others. We help not just our enemy, but we also help the poor. And help the donkey, because really and truly, the donkey is not your enemy. Helping the donkey is helping the person. And when we do that, that's what it shows that we value life and mercy more than the grudges. Although sometimes all that grudge might feel a little, I don't know, it shouldn't feel good, but some persons feel good about holding grudges for long, to see how long they can hold it. Right, but it's not a good habit. All right, verse 8 moves on to bribes. When you take a bribe, you are compromised. You can't, it's very hard to be objective. And that's why at work they tell us, if you get a gift from a client over a certain value, report it to your director, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they're going to ask something for you. There's a saying, something for something. My friends would always discuss when we're younger, something for something, and it's not even younger. Yeah, even adults now believe that if they help someone, then it must be reciprocated. And well, it's not bad. It's not a wrong thing if you help somebody and the person help you back. But if you're helping the person to help you back, then it's not a sincere help. Let's just put it that way. Right? So versus if you took a bribe from this person, later in a situation where there's somebody innocent, we might have to go against is innocent because of what we think that we owe somebody for their kindness to us. All right, there's another mention of the foreigner. I don't think this one needed to be in it because it says, "Do not oppress a sojourner, because you are a sojourner in the land." I can tell you, a lot of persons in Jamaica, they treat foreigners better than how they treat their neighbors, right? So this one is really for the people who really like in those countries now that they're having advanced migration reform, and they're favoring their locals, and showing bad face and bad reception to foreigners. Then this law is very forward thinking and relevant in today's society, where we oppress sojourners, we oppress people who are expatriates, we oppress people who are on a work permit. And we know that if we oppress them, then they might not be able to squeal out or complain or protest, because they do not want to jeopardize their work permit. So it's very distasteful that people can be subject to that kind of treatment and thought, and unable to respond to help themselves. All right. So and of course, we have to remember that at one stage in our life, we were fragile, we were vulnerable, and somebody had to help us. I don't know it was where or what, but all of us would have been helped before. So that in itself, don't ever forget that. Verses 10 to 13. And for 6 years you are to sow your land, and shall gather its increase. But the seventh year you are to let it rest, and shall leave it, and the poor of your people shall eat. And what they leave, the beasts of the field, do the same with your vineyard and your olive yard. 6 days you are to do your work, and on the seventh day you rest, in order that your ox and your donkey might rest, and the son of your female servant and the servant be refreshed. And in all that I have said to you, take heed, and make no mention of the name of other mighty ones, let it not be heard from your mouth. This is a lot of commandments, we're going through now. My word. I'm grateful for them, because it's guidance for us in many aspects of our lives. Okay, so 6 days you're to work. So this is like showing us the principle of the Shabbat and applying it to the land. It's called in Hebrew language Shemitah. Right? So you work the land for six years straight, and after the seventh year, don't bother work the land, relax. Everybody needs a rest. Look at your body. Can you imagine you working your body 7 days straight and doing the same thing your body 6 days, and you want a break, and the person and you're not getting a break, your boss or whoever you make any make any commitments to. Right. So the land is the same thing, just that the land can't talk. So you're going to realize that the land after the 7 years is not yielding as the quality and amount of and quantity of fruit that it usually yield. The question that came to mind though was, what if fruit is on the place? Shouldn't we eat it? And is it really saying we're not to plant that we're not to reap it? I have to look back at it again. Leave the beasts of the field to eat, of the field eat, and what they leave, the beasts of the field. Okay, so we're not to consume it. So no, we have to do some serious planning there to store up food for ourselves, and even allow for the beasts to have some. So we don't reap everything. Yeah. So this is really a good plan, an agricultural plan. And who benefits from the rest? Not just you. Remember, it's not just you, it's the animals too. Servants, the children of the foreigners, and the land itself. And then the last part of the section we just read spoke about idols. It's verse 13. Don't make mention of other mighty names. And I'd really like our input in this. Does it mean that we do not refer to JC? Do that mean that we We do not refer to Brahman and whoever that, ISIS and whatever these names are. Well, I shouldn't even mention it if that's the understanding. I What do we say about the mentioning of the other mighty ones? Mighty ones come like celebrities too. I don't think it's just um, deities, but I'd love to hear. Do we need to mention or do we not need to mention it with respect?
Um, Shalom, everyone.
Shalom,
I
sis.
thought, is it mentioned as in like if you're having a conversation and just like how you call a person's name, you'd mention the name in reference to what you're explaining to the person, or is it mentioned as in how they would repeat the name of their deity, like in the Hindu religion, there's this particular one that starts with R, and they would repeat his name over and over while they do obeisance and all of that. So the thought just came to me: is it mentioned as in that kind of repetition, or is it mentioned in terms of in reference to, or both?
Okay.
Your thoughts?
It's in reference. Well, making reference is one, and making reference the way they make reference, I think, is even worse. They repeat it, and we are repeating it. We are making it normal, right? And maybe making it seem more acceptable. So idolatry. Remember, so words are from the art. To say that words have no meaning, I do not believe it. It has to come from somewhere. It either come from your brain or your heart, whatever you call that place. And word is powerful. Same like our name is powerful. So I believe that if you speak bad, bad can really happen, and if you speak good, good can happen. In most, if not all cases. So you're talking from your heart, and you're talking idolatrous names. It's gonna become normal thing now. You're not going to feel guilty mentioning the name. And once it becomes normal talk, that's normal worship. So yeah, but the way going forward. So we just say other gods, or to remember, or just to correct someone, like somebody who's learning, and you're trying to let a person turn from that other god. Don't we have to mention the name of that other god to let him know that is the wrong name and this is the right name or this is the direction? So that's why there's a certain group that says, even well, no, that's a different thing because they call the creator Hashem. They just say Baruch Hashem, praise the name, right? But that's a different thing. But I think I should get myself in less debates about these other gods, and so that I don't need to call it. And even in our studies here, I should refrain because name powerful, and words are powerful. So I'll try, and I hope we will try too, sister. 14 to 19. 3 times in a year, you are to celebrate a festival to me. Guard the festival of Matzot. 7 days you eat unleavened bread as I commanded you at the time appointed in the new moon of Abib. For in it you came out of Mitzrayim, and do not appear before me empty handed. And the festival of the harvest, the first fruits of your labors which you have sown in the field, and the festival of the ingathering at the outgoing of the year, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. 3 times in the year, all your males are to appear before the Master, the Creator. Do not slaughter the blood of my slaughtering with leavened bread, and the fat of my festival shall not remain until morning. Bring the first of the first fruits of your land into the house of the Creator your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. And that cooking of young goat in mother's milk, the amount that it's mentioned at least 3 times. or two times in other areas of the Torah. And most time you see it, it doesn't it doesn't read like it's flowing from something and sticking to a topic. It's like you're reading about the topic, and all of a sudden it comes up: do not cook a young goat in a mother's milk. But maybe if we look at the other two times it mentioned, maybe it may be mentioned different. But yesterday's study was telling, I think it was mentioned that do not cook a goat uh, or a kid before it reach 8 days, because it's 7 days. 7 days, the first 7 days, it needs to be with its mommy or its mother goat or whatever. So um, do not cook. So it could be that it's do not cook a young goat. Maybe it's fine to cook a young goat, but not to cook it in its mother's milk. Or if it's a young goat, you do not cook a young goat before it reaches a certain age, which we know based from Shemot chapter 22. So I don't know if we want to refer to the other two passages that mention it. That would be really good. Be really good if we could find it. 19. Let's look at Genesis 27, verse 9. Quickly, Genesis 27, 9 says, yeah.
Brother, I want to check here. In today's modern day and age, does anybody cook meat in the breast milk of their animal, the mother?
Nobody that I know of. So
nobody that I know of does that. So to me,
so we can pass it then.
I think it would mean a young, very one that is still suckling. That's what it seems like it's saying here.
Okay, don't cook a goat when it's suckling.
Yes, but it's still young.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if anybody feeding milk goat in it. I've never seen that before.
You know it's wrong, and I don't know why the thought is coming into mind that I really want to taste how that tastes. But then or to see it. Sorry for having that thought, but I'm just wondering what I just wonder what that tastes like. And
for the goat to be cooked with his mother's milk.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
Well, I'm glad I do not eat meat anymore, but I'm wondering if that's a nice, delectable, delicious meal, and because it's nice, people are cautioned not to do it, or because it's inhumane, or it's not good for animals, right? So.
They eat young animals because it's tender. They take it away from the mother, even the cows, and they rib the baby back ribs because it's tender, or tender loins. So they cook the young ones. Yeah. I know that they have that. I've never known for the animal being cooked with mother's milk.
Yeah. Well, we're not gonna explore that because that's wrong. Can I ask a question unrelated to this? Should an adult sample breast milk of a suckling babe? It just crossed my mind that maybe it's something that people explore, and is there any text that forbids that, or is it not something that anybody does, so it was not need to be mentioned? Because when I look at it now, I think goat's milk is for goat, and baby milk is for baby, right? So where we have this mass industrialization where people taking away the goat's milk and the cow's milk, and from the goat that is deserving of it, and selling it to make money for profit. Really and truly, no, that's not moral, come to think of it, but it's what the world the masses do and practice, and there's no guilt or conscience in doing that, because they tell you that it strengthens your teeth and strengthens your bone, and it's rich in calcium, and especially the goat one. And so with all these benefits, why should somebody be protesting about something when the goats are not complaining?
There are excuses for for eating pork as well.
Yeah, it's justified if it's nice. It's justified if it's nice. So I believe that, what is for the goat should be for the goat, and what is for the baby should be for the baby. And that's how it should be. I found the reference in Bereshit chapter 27, verse 9. It says, "Please go to the flock and bring me two choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves." Sorry, I didn't read more to share the context of what this is about, but maybe it's Genesis 27, so it's maybe talking about Ribka and Jacob and or two sons, right? Rebecca and Jacob and Esau, setting up things for for the father, right? So obviously, by this it's just showing that young goat meat real nice, right? So there are other two verses, but we don't have to belabor it. Genesis 38:17 and Genesis 38:20. Right, which is the same thing talking about the
But the scripture does tell you that it is to be of a year old. It's still a kid. It's not an adult, but still a kid.
So it must be a must.
I read goats. I don't have any now. When I did, the kids were kids. And even after a year, they still look like kids.
Okay. Well, I have some, every now and then I take out a picture and look at them. They're cute and nice to raise, I think, compared to all animals. But yeah, when they're young, they should be left to be with their parents. And just like our children are, when young, they are connected and they feel attached to their parents. I believe that it's not far from that, the same kind of attachment. A mother chicken to a chicken, and so on, goat to a young goat. All right, so yeah, but that was the only part we actually focused on. And so let me get back to the main text. Exodus 23. I think we were at 19, but there were some verses that we had read. Now we're not finding it. Okay. Right. So he spoke about the feast 3 times a year. All men should go to the feast. And no, it didn't say men should go. I'm actually saying that because there's a song that I wrote that 3 times each year, all men should go. It's a nice song. I hope to share it with you all. But it says 3 times in a year, you are to celebrate a festival to me. And another text actually says men.
First one I have is all thy males shall appear before the Lord.
Right. But I'm using the scriptures and it doesn't say men. But that's why it's in my head. So 3 times, and that is it's listed here, the matzah, and the purpose of the matzah was to it does tell you how to do it in case we miss it in Shemot 12. 7 days you eat unleavened bread as I commanded you. Right. I think the other command actually says 7 days you're to clean. You're not to eat leaven. But this one seems like to be another way of explaining it. 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread. So anyway you look at it, it's actually saying the same thing. No, it's not saying the same thing. It's just giving you more information. 7 days you don't eat leaven, or 7 days you eat unleavened bread. All right. And at special time, which is an issue for me because I eat unleavened bread any time of the year. I feel like eating unleavened bread, but especially at this time, the appointed time, it must be that we have it because it's commemorating that departure and deliverance from Mitzrayim. And do not appear empty-handed. That means that if we're doing it today, where will we appear though? I'm curious. And what do we share when we bring something? Is that we share with one another? Because I'm thinking if we're trying to make any efforts to keep it, seeing that the laws are not hard, then this is where we should meet. I think at least 3 times a year we should meet, if we can. The world and the circumstances don't really allow for that easily, but with time, because it's an appointed time, for the 100th time, I was saying, we need to see if we can meet 3 times a year, especially closer to this time that we think our calculations end up. The other one is the harvest, Shavuot, sharing the first fruits. And the first fruits are, I think it's about 7 different fruits that make up that. There's a reference that I have that mentioned where these Deuteronomy 8 verse 8 will tell us the fruits that make up this that are used. Or we could assume that it's all fruits, every fruit, right? But Deuteronomy 8 speaks about when you go into the land, you bring wheat and barley. That's 2 vines uh, of vines. Oh, wheat and barley. Those are vines. And fig and pomegranate. That's 4. Olive oil. That's 5. Honey. 6. On all these things I'm listing, we should have it in our house. It should be in our cupboard and our in our fridge or in our counter. And a land in which you eat bread. Okay, so it's actually 6 things. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was more than that. But these are good fruits. I mean, my jackfruit is not there and mango not there, but at least these, I think they are very good and rich in nutrients for us. And as much as possible, I try to get my pomegranates. It's not really in every country, it's not everywhere. But yeah, these are good for us. What's good for us, we try to have more of it, not excess, but have more. All right. And when we have, don't appear empty-handed because it's an opportunity to share, and our sharing is actually giving thanks. Um, these 3 feasts, I'm believing it's so important that it should be among the 10 commandments, but it doesn't matter because all the commandments were listed one after the other. It's just that those 10 were probably mentioned first, right? So that is good. And we're going to read 22:27. Okay, I move from the passage again. Shemot 23, 27. 24, 5, 6, 7. I shall send my fear before you and cause confusion among all the people to whom you come and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I shall send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Evites and the Kenite and the Hittite from before you. I shall not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become a waste and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Okay, no, I think I passed it. I missed something when scrolling. All right, that's technology. See, I'm sending a messenger before you to guide you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. And this one shows the messenger in capital letter. There has to be a reason. Be on guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. Verse 22, and it says, but if you diligently obey his voice and shall do all that I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies and a distresser to those who distress you. For my messenger, again, shall go before you and shall bring you into the Amorites, and Hittites, and Perizzites, and Kenites, and Evites, and the Jebusites, and I shall cut them off. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their pillars. And you shall serve the Creator your Elohim, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I shall remove sickness from your midst. None shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I shall fill the number of your days. I shall send my fear before you and cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. Okay, so we see some wonderful promises there if we obey. And the word messenger, we just a reminder that when the scrolls were found, there was no paragraphs. That's where division of paragraphs or verses. This was these translators really bring them together and decide where to cut off, where to put capital letter, where to put in vowels and try to make it make sense. Right. So this messenger, we've seen many instances messenger was sent to Lot and to Abraham. Right. So in some versions it will read an angel, just that, and we're told to pay careful attention and do obey the voice. Right. So why would the creator send an angel? Right. And the reason is he's said that he's sending the angel. It could be in response to a request, or it could be just knowing what they're thinking, that he believes that they have a fear of going without his presence, and he wants to assure them that he is going before them in the land. So chill, relax, everything is taken care of. Did it mention anything about enemy? Oh, it mentioned that then I shall be an enemy to your enemies. So he will represent us in the role that protects and defends us. Right? So he can, when his people rebel, he can turn from defender to an adversary, and he can oppose any plans against his people. It speaks about the mighty ones again, and yeah, it can never be repeated too much. It seems to be the main sin of the Israelites, turning to other mighty ones. It's kind of hard, what we have to ensure that we reject that kind of temptation. And I believe that it's kind of the easiest one to fall into is idolatry. Sometimes we do it little by little, right? And that is to our demise. All right, let's read from verses 28 onward. Are we missing anything? Yes, we missed about that part about miscarrying. 26. None shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I shall fill the number of your days. So there are a lot of miscarriages reported even today. And of course, there were a lot of, well, patriarchs' wives, two of them at least, were barren for a while. So sometimes when we see these things, it's tempting to think that it's as a result of disobedience, but we should not be too quick to do that, because Sarah and who else was born? Sarah for sure. There's no report of her being disobedient, more than to say that she was barren, and maybe that barrenness was just to teach future Hebrew women that they should have patience and trust the Creator. Welcome, my sister. Right. So that we're at Shemot chapter 23, verse 26, speaking about a promise that of a blessing that no woman shall miscarry and be barren if the people obey. And I believe this wholeheartedly, that a lot of the blessings that we could have received are withheld due to disobedience. All right, that's what my take on that mention regarding being barren. All right, we'll read 28 to 33. And I shall send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Evite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before you. I shall not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become a waste and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little, I shall drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I shall set your border from the sea of reeds to the sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the river. And for I shall give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them, nor with their mighty ones. Let them not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me when you serve their mighty ones, when it becomes a snare to you. It seems as if I can't read any chapter and we're not cautioned against mighty ones. Right? So it's either Israel deaf or something, or the temptation was too real for it not to be re-emphasized and reiterated in their minds. No covenant with the nations or their gods. When I think about covenant, I'm always thinking about having food together. I know it's more than that, but I believe that at the extreme level, dining with these people is like you're actually telling them that what they're doing, you're in full support of it, and it's all cool to earn, right? So that's one way. But this practice is forbidden. It's like it's a hard line. Don't make treaty with Canaanites. Don't do it. No alliance, no friend thing. You don't need to be cool with them. Their presence and around you is really like a snare. And before you know, it is magnetic enough to draw Israel away from the Creator. And I'm thinking about the covenants that we make and the ceremonies that we participate in. You know, even these things like I've been at a funeral for a dear family, and the name of another God is mentioned. You go to a wedding, and the name of the other God is mentioned. And I'm saying, the line is actually drawn. It's just that we can't see it, or we too hooked to the system and the practices to be set apart. So I don't even believe that these all these things that are done make any sense if another deity is being elevated in it. You know, what is our take on that? Because when we make covenant, we're actually making loyalty, and we're tying ourselves to their gods, whether or not we're free, walking around free, but we don't realize we're tying ourselves in our minds. And those people sometimes so close to us, we pull our heart away from the Creator. And when our heart is pulled away, it cause unfaithfulness, you know, among us, sin and ultimately judgment. Who wants that? Nobody wants that. But we play with fire, go and stand close to it because it feels warm. While the more closer to it, then you're gonna get burned, and that's so it is with other deities. You go stand, in the presence and witness the nice praise and worship and everything. And at the end of the day, we are humming and we're going to bed thinking about it and mesmerizing about it, and yeah. All right, draw the art away, man. Yeah, so it's something for us to examine. Any sermon that we're part of, and quotes are mentioned and it's not mentioned in the creator's name or alone, I believe they do not stand for anything, and I don't believe that they're legit. It's something that we have to look at again. All right, so that's we're at the end of the chapter. Any comments? Um, there's a part that I thought a question would come up, where the creator drive out people out of the land for Israel, and others would question the fairness of it. If somebody's in the land first, why do you put another set in it? And is that fair? Or can we find some reference that says that the land was given to Israel first, and Israel was driven out, and now it's there just going back to it? Can anybody find a text like that? Sorry, and share it? Because if not, then we know the Creator is all knowing, and He is doing what He is doing for the best, and which we accept. But I'd like to hear the perspective of the generations of the people of the Evites and the Canaanites and the Hittites, how they felt knowing that, thinking that the land is theirs, and then there's a divine Elohim that drives them out to let his people go in. That wouldn't stand here in any jurisdiction where people fight for land and power and scarce resources. All right, but these are some wonderful commands that we've shared, and we need to continue to study them more. Any thoughts? All right, if none, then thanks for sharing, everyone. Shalom, shalom, and we'll do Shemot chapter 24 tomorrow.
Bye bye.
All praise to
Shalom.
the Creator.